Back at Teriella's home, her sister is asking her father what will happen if Teriella ends up becoming the empress, but her brother remarks that with her nasty personality he doubts that she will ever become the empress in the future. He also jokes about it, saying that he will end up becoming a cripple for the rest of his life by himself if that ends up becoming the truth in the end. Her another sister claims the same, saying that she will do the same to her arms, but the first sister is quite confused about the whole thing from the beginning, as Teriella is quite beautiful and the prettiest of them all, but their father thinks that there is no use of having a pretty face if Teriella has a nasty mouth spouting nonsense every time, and he thinks that the children of prestigious families and the royals of other countries should thank them for saving them from marrying a damaged man, as Emperor Leonhardt and Teriella are perfect fit for each other since both of them are crazy in their own sense, and he feels that Teriella's body won't be returning back to them for the obvious reasons, as they already know that the Emperor of the Great Empire is not merciful at all, so it will probably be a closed casket for Teriella for sure. He also adds that they do not have to worry about it even if Teriella ends up coming back, since King Shalom is looking for a queen at the moment, and he will be ready to send her to him without any worries. Then when the siblings remark that the man is over 70 years old, they also remember it for a fact that there are more than 30 queens who died at the hands of that old man. But Teriella's brother doubts that there is a chance Karajan comes back, and he might be trying to take her back, and it is guaranteed that no one can beat Karajan since he is one of the most powerful magic wielders in the continent, and everyone knows that he cares Teriella more than his own life, which will make things difficult for sure. But they decide that they can worry about him only when he returns, and they claim that they will be letting him know that Teriella left of her own accord since the dead person cannot talk. Anyways, Teriella's father thinks that Karajan wouldn't be able to return to the palace for a while because of the provincial epidemic investigation, and he suggests everyone to be careful not to let the news reach Karajan. It is better for them if Karajan finds the information out as late as possible, and he should be finding out about the whole thing after everything is done. So by the time Karajan arrives in the palace, Teriella's funeral should be taking place at that moment. Meanwhile, Teriella is having a hard time getting used to lacking power to help himself, and the Emperor realizes that Teriella just had a weird thought about him by looking right at her face. Teriella mocks him, saying that there must be another princess other than her, and the Emperor remarks that her face is continuously turning red, which makes Teriella feel that the man must be so witty. Then Teriella remarks that she would have blushed if she had put her hands on anyone's chest, even if the person wasn't him, but according to him, that will be bad since he isn't about to stand that at any cost. He thinks that it will be a horrible end for that person, as they will be seeing blood for sure, while Teriella suggests to him not to take off his shirt the next time since it is too much trouble for her every time. But the Emperor doesn't seem to mind doing it, and Teriella thinks that it must be tiring for him to take off his clothes every time, and even so, the Emperor gets close to Teriella, asking why she must be thinking like that. Teriella blushes as the Emperor moves in too close to her, while blushing, and Teriella backs away, saying that if he keeps on doing things like that, she might have to go to sleep before midnight, as he will become a drunkard again to be locked up in his bedroom every night. The Emperor suggests her not to worry and promises Teriella that he wouldn't be doing something like that ever again if she doesn't like it, and she wonders how agreeable the Emperor can be, as he claims that he won't be doing anything if she says no. Then, Teriella remarks that her wedding is soon, and since it is her first wedding, she is nervous, and the Emperor claims that it is the same for him as well since it is his first. When he suggests Teriella to sit and talk with him, she feels like she really has nothing else to talk about, and the Emperor then asks Teriella if she really doesn't want her family to attend the wedding, as she can tell them about it, so he can decide to uninvite them at his discretion if she doesn't want them to be present. Teriella is feeling weird that he would say something like that, and he remarks that he thought she must not want to see them ever again, and Teriella realizes that the Emperor is quick to sense her discomfort. Then Teriella asks what he means, as the Lupin family is her family, so they must attend the wedding, and even though she doesn't want her sisters and brothers, they are still related to her. She also adds that it is the only way she will get to see the royal family die of embarrassment in front of them, as it is such a rare sight that cannot be seen even if it is paid. She wants to see it with her own eyes and laugh at it so that she can sleep comfortably at night with her feet stretched out, so she cannot wait for the day to come, as he must not uninvite them. The Emperor is surprised to see how can the princess be so strong, and Teriella thanks her mother for her bravery, as her mother loved her a lot even though the rest of the family members bullied her. According to her mother, she never wanted Teriella to lower her head at any cost if she didn't do anything wrong, and her mother promised that Teriella would receive so much love for her in the future as she would give the world to her. When the emperor gets upset after talking about her mother, Teriella senses that he must have some bad memories of his mother since he doesn't look so happy, and she realizes that she doesn't know anything about Rivanfel. Soon the emperor promises her that he will be sending a speedboat to get them to Leonharta as soon as possible in a few weeks. Later, the House of Lupin has arrived, which feels like a dream come true to Teriella, as she is eager to show them the best humiliation ever. Then when the Lupin family head bows down to the emperor, he starts to mock the man, saying that it was a long wait for him, so it must be an honorable situation for the Lupin family, as he has never waited this long in his own life. Then the man plops down on the ground begging for his forgiveness, which feels like a nice sight to look at to Teriella, as she never thought that she would see her family members top of the heads. Then the emperor then states that he was only joking with them, and the nervous men continue to state that they are grateful since the emperor decided to joke with them. Then when they start to ease up, the emperor states honestly that he wasn't joking at all, and he claims that a few weeks isn't a long journey since he heard that it took the princess 3 months to get in his location. He continues to stare at them and claims that there must be a lot of talented engineers in the kingdom of Lupin as a rotten wood wheel ran for 3 months, and starts to brag, saying that the Lupin family must help them with this kind of technology, as he expected that the wheels to fall off and fall from a cliff in the first place, but quite the opposite has happened. When the Lupin family head is about to make a comment to ease up the situation, the emperor claims that he was asking just in case, and if they really want to show off their technology, there is no way they would send Teriella in a carriage that was truly damaged and broken, as if the wheel is about to fall off. As the situation gets rougher this time, the emperor states that he was acting up with his joking skills once again, and claims that he is sure that the kingdom didn't send the princess without checking for their safety. Then he continues to stare at them, saying if they did something like that, they didn't only disregard the princess' safety, but also the safety of the future empress. Claiming that they have already gotten enough hospitality, he holds in Teriella close, saying that he will give Teriella some time with her family since they must have a lot to catch up. Teriella then thanks the emperor for his consideration and then goes on to call her father and siblings all together, while smiling as if she was looking forward to meeting with them all. Then when Teriella is alone with her brother, he ends up asking her if she is truly marrying the emperor, and she realizes that her brother has already forgotten that their father has forbidden from him touching Teriella until he comes back from talking to the emperor. But instead of answering her brother, she ends up asking him where Karajan must be, as she wanted to see his face and not theirs. The brother of Teriella claims that Karajan couldn't come because he hasn't finished the epidemic investigation yet, and there were more casualties than they thought, so it is taking in way longer than they have imagined. He adds that even if he heard about her marriage, he would have let go of his work to come here, so the situation is worse than they thought. Then her sister comes up to her, asking Teriella if she is really about to be the empress, as they are surprised to see this happening. To reply to that question, Teriella asks her sister if she didn't send her to this place to marry the emperor after all, so she shouldn't be so surprised about it. But inside, she knows that they have all expected that she would be killed by the emperor, so they are a bit disappointed to see a wedding instead of a funeral notice, which is quite ironic in the first place. Then the sister angrily claims that it doesn't make sense, as they cannot believe Teriella to be the empress of the great empire, and Teriella remarks that if she ends up becoming the empress, there is nothing that she cannot do, which is quite amazing to her. Teriella thinks to herself that they might still not realize what is about to happen, and asks them if they have something else to say to her after this. Then when the whole family is silent, Teriella realizes that her family is always like this, and as they continue to mess her up, they keep on pretending that they didn't do anything, and she thinks that shutting their mouth and turning a blind eye to things cannot change. In a few months, when the brother reveals that it was their plan from the beginning, the sister insists that it is the truth, as she wouldn't become the empress if they didn't send her there. She adds that if they didn't force her to meet the emperor, she still would have been eating their leftover breadcrumbs, so Teriella should be thanking them instead, as there is no way she would get a sister who gives away such a great opportunity for her younger sister. Teriella thinks to herself if they are fooling themselves even more, as it is her palace already that they are in, and she thinks that they do not feel the need to be careful around her, as they do not think that the maids in this palace would take her side instead, since she had always been the rock that can be kicked easily by their own 2 feet. Teriella then warns her sister before opening her mouth, as she should be thinking before making a comment, and her sister roars at her for showing such courage, while Teriella claims that she doesn't want to get blood on her hands because she is her family. Then her brother once again asks her if she really thinks that she is about to become the empress, as she shouldn't be forgetting that she isn't married just yet. Then when Teriella asks him if they are planning something, he claims that their father is working on that, since he wants to persuade the emperor to have another child be the empress instead of Teriella. When they claim that the emperor would want a princess who is recognized rather than someone like her, it feels to Teriella that they got caught in her trap with a small provocation, and it ended up spilling all their plans. Suddenly, a man comes in with a message from the emperor, and her brother grabs it, saying that Teriella is finished, as the wedding will be cancelled and she will be sent home with them. Then Teriella remarks that he shouldn't be regretting his words later, and after reading the letter, her brother is rather surprised because Levin asking to marry her wasn't because he lacked power or he needed a woman, and it is because he needs divine power, which no one has but her. Then when her brother continues to shake, Teriella claims that she will tell the emperor that they were wanting to finish her off, and her siblings of her start to shake, realizing that they are now in a tough position. But Teriella is satisfied knowing that everyone inside the room, including the maids, has seen everything, and they will be the evidence to back her up, as they will continue to stand up with her and not them. The next morning, when the emperor is having tea with Teriella, he asks if she had a great time with her family, as she seems to be in a good mood, and she claims that she had a wonderful time with them for sure. The scene moves in the past, when her brother was flabbergasted after the news arrived for them, and Teriella asks them what the emperor would do after knowing about what has happened between them that day, as they have already heard rumors about his wrath. Teriella claimed that she is ready to give them another chance if any one of them is ready to ask for forgiveness by kneeling down in front of her. She suggests them not to lose their life by holding on to their pride, and at that moment all of her siblings kneel down in front of her without uttering a single word, while competing with each other about who kneeled down at first. Then in the present, the emperor claims that her family must be up to something, as they have been busy after that day, but he suggests that she should leave some of the work for him, as he will surely deal with it. Teriella insists that he shouldn't lose his time thinking about small flies, and remarks that the family matters should be handled by the family, as the moment he steps in, it will get political at that moment. She suggests to him that it will be troublesome if it becomes a fight between a kingdom and an empire, so she prefers that she will be taking care of it on her own. The emperor remarks that she looks rather happy to deal with it, and Teriella thinks to herself that she was so excited that she forgot to smile after all. The emperor thinks of respecting her wishes, and Teriella couldn't think that a man who was considered as a tyrant would decide to act so delicately in front of her. Then Teriella asks him curiously if anyone knows about him changing himself every night, and it seems that nobody has the knowledge of it at all. He states that no matter how much of a knowledgeable person Jerry might be, he didn't let him know about it, since it must be a secret kept from him at any cost. Teriella shrieks, knowing that she is the first person to know about his secret, and she knows that it is easy to hide the secret, since it is not very visible to others all the time, and it would have been hard to hide Rivanfel if it was secret that could easily be revealed to the others. Then when Jerry comes into the room, he ends up finishing the conversation by saying that he was able to hide it from Jerry since he doesn't stay with him inside his bedroom. Jerry looks quite flustered after hearing the ending, which makes Teriella wonder if he had heard their conversation. Jerry then starts to scream to hide away the confusion of staying inside the emperor's bedroom, as it would have been unfortunate, and the emperor remarks to him that it is not good to eavesdrop on someone else's conversations. He claims that he was just walking by, and he requests Teriella not to mind after hearing what the emperor has said. When Teriella continues to joke around with Jerry, as it is fun for her to do so, it seems that flustered Jerry was carrying some reports over to the emperor, which is a list of nobles that want to meet Teriella before the wedding, and they are the ones who had sent letters to Teriella beforehand. The emperor states to Jerry that Teriella doesn't like it, so he can continue to reject their decision, which feels like a bad thing to Jerry, and he makes it clear that he is just advising the emperor by assisting in his works. Jerry suggests that it would have been harmful for Teriella to be such a social outcast like him, as it is good to have a lot of people on their side from the beginning, so she should get close to the high society. Jerry claims that he has made the list of all the powerful people in high society, and when Teriella starts to say that she has to talk to them, Jerry remarks that not everyone is not. Everyone is a good person to communicate with on the list, since some of them do illegal things behind the scenes such as making drugs. Then the Emperor suggests Jerry to introduce the whole theory to Teriella right now, since she should know as she is about to become the Empress of the Empire. While Jerry claims that it will be up to Teriella, Teriella realizes that she should know as she had made a deal with Rivanfel, and the power that she got after the meeting could bring her family to her knees, so it will be her duty to take responsibility of the role she has now. When Teriella decides to act mature about it by facing reality, Jerry realizes how wise Teriella is, while the Emperor states that it is not easy to voluntarily walk onto a difficult path. While Jerry continues to bicker with Rivanfel the friendliest way, Teriella realizes that Jerry might not even be on her side, but he is with him for sure, as even though Rivanfel might be a tyrant, nobody treats him better than Jerry, which is for sure, as he is so comfortable with him. Then when Rivanfel asks Jerry about the wedding preparations, Jerry claims that the wedding hall is almost ready, and when they get to see the hall, both of them are mesmerized as the whole hall room carries the scent of various flowers. When Eliho enters the room claiming that the hall will be more refreshing to spray holy water everywhere and clean it up, Teriella realizes that she has heard of the man who was blessed by God and raised to the position of the high priest at a very young age, but it is quite reflective that Teriella and Rivanfel need to avoid this man the most no matter what. When Eliho reaches up to Rivanfel and Teriella, she is scared out of her mind and quickly hides behind the Emperor, while Rivanfel starts to interact with him. Soon, Eliho looks up to Teriella, and he quickly introduces himself to Teriella formally as the High Priest Eliho and the servant of Semula. Teriella shakily introduces herself to Eliho, and while introducing herself to Eliho, Teriella notices how the holy power is radiating from the man even when he is doing nothing at all, and if he ends up touching him, he will immediately find out that she is a saint. After seeing the reaction of Teriella, Rivanfel claims to Eliho, saying that the princess is on high alert because she is in a new place, so he should understand her problems, and Eliho claims that he sure does understand her problem, as he decides not to disturb the princess. Then when Rivanfel asks Eliho how long he is about to stay, in the end he has some volunteering work once again outside the empire, and Eliho then remarks that he doesn't have any kind of volunteering work at the moment. He states that he will be staying in the empire for a while, which gets Teriella terrified, and Eliho claims that the young priests were anxious because he left the temple empty for too long, and now he is about to send the other high priests and take care of younger ones himself, as he is about to attend the wedding himself. The whole thing seems like a perfect reason for Teriella not to make any failure, and since the Emperor is already present, she thinks of avoiding Eliho no matter what. Suddenly, Teriella remarks that she is tired and suggests that she should be going back to take some rest, and the Emperor continues to take her away from Eliho. But both of them get called from the back by Eliho, who then offers Teriella the blessing of purification, while having a big smile on his face. Rivanfel thinks to himself, as there are chances that Eliho might have noticed something, but he promises himself that he will keep Teriella hidden no matter what. Then he comes up to Eliho, saying that he must be the one needing purification, as Teriella is tired, so she would rather sleep than get blessed. While Teriella continues to move inside with one of the maids, Rivanfel suggests that he will be calling Eliho anytime soon, and Eliho decides to agree with his decision. On the other hand, Teriella is losing her mind, thinking that she was about to get caught soon enough, and at that moment, a hamster came up to her inside her room. It seems that later Teriella is worried, since the deal with him will be over any time the secret of her gets revealed by anyone. When Teriella continues to press on the matter, Rivanfel claims that it will be a little different from normal, but she doesn't have to worry about it, and she is worried that the man is about to do something without even telling her. Rivanfel then remarks, asking her if she doesn't trust him after all this he had done for her, as she is the only person he can trust right now. Teriella stutters, claiming that she was just checking, and Rivanfel starts to take away all of his clothes in an instant, suggesting that he could take away a lot more than just a shirt, since they are alone inside a room right now. Teriella starts to get flustered, but she then ends up slapping his chest, saying that he is the one who is patient in there, and she is the one who heals him, asking him to say that he doesn't want to get purified. When Teriella ends with her slapping session on Rivanfel, She suggests him to sit beside her on the bed while introducing her friend Hamster, who will be staying with her from this day as his name is Moo. When Livenfell asks where she got him, Teriella claims that she ended up picking him up on the way, as it reminds her of the hamster that she raised with her mother in the Lupian kingdom. Also, Livenfell claims that he will be okay with the hamster as long as she is okay with it, as the more occupied she is, it is always better for him. Livenfell notices that Teriella was reading the correspondence Jerry had given her, and Livenfell is quite shocked that the letter that was sent to them was sent by Marquise Lirenef. Livenfell ends up ripping the letter off, saying that even though he decided to respect her decision, he suggests staying her away from the man while revealing a grave secret. According to Livenfell, when he ascended the throne, he has finished most of the ministers except for two, and one of them was Marquise Lirenef. No matter how much he wanted to finish the man off, he cannot do it anymore, since killing him would affect the future of the empire. Teriella notices that she has never seen Livenfell so much angry in her whole life as he continues to talk about Lirenef. At that moment, Teriella wonders, even though Jerry knows about the relationship between Livenfell and Lirenef, why he would suggest the letter to her after all. The next day, when the sunlight feels amazing in the daytime, Teriella continues to chat with the noble family members, and the man she is chatting with currently wrought his tea, expecting to meet him, as he doesn't think it would be considered a waste. Then when her servant comes up to her asking if she would like to have her usual tea, it gets noticed by the man, and he suggests that Teriella should teach her servants how to act early on. When Teriella doesn't understand what the man is saying, he claims that the servants shouldn't keep interrupting the conversation when their master wasn't even calling them, as if Teriella is being ignorant at the moment. Teriella then claims that her servant must have made a mistake since they were worrying about her, and she claims that she will make sure to tell them later so they do not make the same mistake ever again. But still, the man claims that she is being very inconsiderate, as after the wedding she will be the empress of the great empire, so if she doesn't teach her servants soon, there will be a lot of gossip about her soon enough. Teriella thinks to herself that she knows about people like the man quite nicely, who is smart and powerful, as they are the ones who look down on others while trampling on them. Right at that moment, the man asks if she is interested in taking her own maid and escort, as he is ready to suggest someone for her. Right at that moment, Teriella calls her servant, saying that she should get her usual tea since she cannot drink it as it doesn't suit her taste well, which the man realizes quite instantly. As the man understands that she is uncomfortable, he claims that it is how the teas are supposed to be like, so it might be unfamiliar and doesn't suit her taste for her, so she should keep practicing enjoying it over a long period of time. Then Teriella remarks how one can continue to endure the things they do not enjoy, as they will start to feel sick if they keep on doing things like that. The man continues to press her, saying that she should continue to hang in there to enjoy it, and Teriella remarks that she isn't someone that patient to do something like that, which makes the man say that if she doesn't have that much patience, she will never enjoy good quality tea in her entire life, which seems okay to Teriella, as she hasn't tasted a lot of teas yet. The man feels that it might be some sort of pity that Livenfell doesn't enjoy much tea either, and as he realizes that the tea time with Teriella is over, he remarks that even though it was quite difficult for him to obtain the tea, she wouldn't be liking it much, despite the fact that it is the kind of tea that is wanted by everyone. When Marquise Lirenef continues to offer the tea to her, Alejo comes in the middle, greeting both of them, which surely makes Teriella surprised, as she wasn't expecting him in here. Alejo comes in saying that he is glad to see them both together, as he came in to greet both of them in spite of his disrespect, and starts asking them if he could join in their tea time conversations somehow. The Marquis claims that so much time has already passed, and decides to stand up from his seat, claiming that he has to move on to another appointment already. Before leaving the room, the Marquis remarks to Alejo, saying that Teriella doesn't seem to know how to enjoy a good tea, so it would be nice for him if he could join her in the time. As the man leaves, Alejo remarks that the man smells evil for real, and suggests to Teriella that it will be her choice to get close to him, since she shouldn't get too close to him at any cost. Then, when Teriella decides to move on with the topic of smelling bad, Alejo claims that Teriella smells like flowers, and Teriella realizes that the man is getting too close to her and is about to touch her at any time soon. But before he is about to touch her, Livenfell comes in to grab his hand, calling his name and asking about his intentions. Then Alejo remarks that all he was doing was greeting the princess while on his way. Then when Livenfell remarks that he was about to do something else, flustered Eliho claims that he can swear on his life that he didn't have any kind of ill intentions toward her. He then apologizes to Teriella, suggesting that she might need to rest soon enough, and adds that if she needs to call him later, he can surely rethink the blessing of purification that he couldn't do before as he decides to leave the place. Then Livenfell asks Teriella if she is okay, and Teriella claims that she is, and Livenfell questions her if she was enjoying her tea time with Eliho. Teriella remarks that he is wrong to think about something like that, as he is the person whom she would avoid the most, and she adds that she met Marquez Liranef in the garden as he was interested in showing his collection of teas to her, which she couldn't refuse as a lot of people were watching over her. Teriella realizes that his mood surely changed after hearing the name of the Marquez, as she also remembers what he said about the man previously while wondering about what has happened between the two of them. Teriella then adds that she thinks the Marquez will never be seeing her ever again, as the man ignored her and told her that he didn't need her at all. Livenfell seems quite disappointed as he realizes that Teriella got into trouble because of him, but she thinks that it isn't his fault at all since he was the one who ignored her and disrespected her. She also claims that she knows how to distinguish the perpetrator from the victim, and declares that he isn't about to protect her like a flower in a greenhouse. Even so, Teriella says that it will be fine since she will be taking care of it the next day, so he shouldn't be thinking about it so much. Livenfell remarks that Teriella might be hating taking the easy way like before, and Teriella claims that she doesn't mean to do everything on her own, and as if she thinks that it is a risk that she cannot handle, she will be throwing it on his way by running away so he can take care of the rest of it for her. Livenfell smiles after hearing her and adds that Teriella has a lot to learn from, and Teriella suggests that he has a lot to offer, and his abs will be the perfect example for it, which then gets Livenfell speechless. Then later at night, Livenfell meets his mother in front of a prison cell since she is inside, and he is amused to see that his mother is alive and well. It seems that the woman is surprised that his hair color didn't change, and Livenfell remarks that he has found someone who would make him who he was before she ended up turning him into a monster, while remarking that he will never let her go for sure. Then Jerry tends to Teriella by setting up how the wedding will be finished, while suggesting that Mrs. Marina should be giving her more details about it soon enough, and, according to Teriella, it wasn't as hard as she thought that it would be for sure. While staring at Jerry, Teriella claims that she wanted to talk to him about something else, and when Jerry suggests she should be straightforward with him, Teriella ends up asking him about him, suggesting Macruz Liranef to him, as she wasn't expecting him to do something like that even after hearing about the Marquez from Livenfell. Then Jerry claims that he didn't have any particular reason behind it, as he was recommending only the most powerful people in high society, which feels doubtful to Teriella, as it could easily create a barricade between Livenfell and Jerry. According to Jerry, politics cannot be done with personal feelings, as he said last time. All power is not good, but he doesn't think that it is evil to use bad power for good. Jerry claims that even if it is personal, even if it is a power that she shouldn't have used for dirty things, he would be happy to advise her to join hands with it if it helps her in what she wants to do. Then Teriella remarks that most of the time, even if such power is used for good, it will eventually continue to cause various catastrophes, which makes Jerry point out that there is a line between good and evil, which makes him think that good and evil aren't really that distinct from each other. Then, while setting up the example of good and bad, Jerry remarks that he knows why the Peridiac experiment came about, and while Teriella is shocked after hearing him say that, Jerry claims that he doesn't agree with human experiments since it is such a crime and ethically wrong, but he elaborates that the world is dying, and if the world is destroyed, everyone will continue to die anyway. Since there is nobody out there who could prevent the end of the world right now, he thinks that the alchemist's experiment might have succeeded and helped the world instead, which would eventually help the world to exist in the end after all. Then Teriella claims that she can assure him that it is not about to happen, since she already knows that despite the fact that Livenfell ended up living, not many of them did after all, so it kind of contradicts her belief. When Teriella again remarks about the matter related to Marquez Liranef, Jerry claims that she understood the matter right about his decision, since he is like a specimen of evil that wants to stand above the South and reign it. Then in the end, if the Emperor needs help, the Marquez will be a great help to the Empire if there is a war in the future, which feels right to Teriella in every way, knowing that if the Marquez ends up betraying, the current place is about to fall apart no matter what. When Teriella continues to blabber out more of the political theories, Jerry asks if she is in the position of being an aide instead of being the Empress, as he is almost dying by working all alone this time. Before leaving the room, Jerry claims that he is sorry for putting so many responsibilities on her, but Teriella thinks that it is fine, so he shouldn't be sorry for it, as she is continuing to take advantage of the Emperor anyways. Then the day of the marriage, Teriella learns that her family left the Empire secretly last night, and even if she is annoyed after hearing such news, she gets prepared for the wedding. They declare that the bride is about to enter, and the moment the wedding finishes, Alejo claims that the two of them will be making a promise of eternal bonding by sharing a kiss, which is the rule of the marriage. But Teriella rethinks if they are surely about to share a kiss together, since they are only taking the marriage vows for 1 year only, and the moment Rivanfel starts to get close to her, she starts to get nervous as there are a lot of people staring at them. She thinks that it is only fair since it is their emperor getting married at this time, and soon Rivanfel suggests that she should close her eyes as they bond with each other through a kiss. Then Teriella continues to think about how they always went back to their room after she finished the treatment on the emperor, as they have never shared a bed together. But this night they are about to have their first night after the wedding, which surely means that they have to sleep in the same bedroom as Rivanfel and have breakfast with him as well. While confused, Teriella continues to think about the night. Rivanfel comes in squeezing her cheeks, claiming that since she had a lot of work the whole day, he will be giving her a treatment with a massage since he cannot take his hands off of her. While they continue to poke each other on the bed, Teriella ends up falling down on the bed, while Rivanfel hovers above her arms with bubbly eyes. Amazed, Rivanfel remarks to Teriella, saying that she isn't telling him to take off his clothes today, and he then instantly corrects himself by calling her the Empress. When Teriella remarks that she isn't doing that since he doesn't have to see any kind of symptoms yet, and as the bell rings on the clock, his whole hair turns white, and Rivanfel asks her if she is about to tell him to take off his clothes right now. He suggests her, saying that she should think of a new kind of treatment instead of following the same rule as every day, and makes Teriella touch her abs while remarking what her reaction would be like when she touches a place she has never touched before while flabbergasted. Teriella continues to stare right at his face. In the morning, Teriella wakes up beside Rivanfel and starts to wonder why he would be beside her, and she starts to reminisce about what has happened between them, and it seems that she cannot stop thinking about it at all. But at the same time, Teriella wonders what would continue to poke her chest, even though Rivanfel is lying down on the bed, right beside her sleeping, and it seems that it is the hamster Moo who is doing something like that. After seeing the cute pipsqueak, she starts to wonder what he might be doing in here, since he is supposed to be in her bedroom, and starts calling him extraordinary as he somehow ended up in the bedroom. The moment she ends up asking him if he is really a hamster, he starts to talk, saying that she might have felt something because they have the same kind of energy, and Teriella seems to be shocked, as if she didn't know. Then flabbergasted Teriella starts to squeeze her own cheek to confirm that she isn't dreaming for sure, and the hamster starts to say that he had to put her to sleep the previous day because it seemed like both of them were moving too fast, and as he already broke the promise to not intervene, he thought that he might as well save her from the situation. Then curious Teriella starts to ask him about the promise and starts asking him how a hamster can talk after all. The hamster claims that the source of her power is the reason why so many lives breathe in this land, and the parent of life and the cause of destruction. He is indeed Semula after all. It seems that Semula was not the god who created humans in the beginning, but he loved humans so much that he wanted to give them everything, like a parent, and so he ended up planting the root of the world tree on this, and it ended up producing the power for this continent in the end. According to Semula, he thought that she was less than his son Alejo, but he ended up changing his mind, and Teriella asks him why he would look like a hamster after all. Then Semula claims that it is the way he likes to hide himself, since he gets very little attention because of his look, and if it wasn't for that, many people would have already fought to take him. Then Semula claims that if he had turned into a human, he would surely need someone to handle his power, but there wasn't anyone who would be able to do that since they are not able to control his power. Then when Teriella starts to worry about his loud voice, Semula claims that she doesn't have to worry about him since he has already put him to sleep. But even though the hamster is claiming to be Semula, Teriella doesn't believe that without having some kind of concrete proof in front of her, and he starts to roll over countless flowers in the room for her, claiming that he can display the flowers as much as she wants. Soon when the flowery attraction calms down, Teriella starts asking him about his arrival inside the room since he was inside the bedroom of her. He claims that he came to give her his greetings before he went back to the temple, and noticing that Teriella is getting upset about his leave, he touches Teriella saying that she shouldn't be upset since he would be back any time soon. Suddenly, Semula notices that someone is about to come up to them and starts to leave, while Teriella continues to shout at him saying that she still needs to ask him so many questions, but Semula ends up leaving saying that he would never abandon her or the world anyways, promising her that he would always be beside her to watch her over. Then, when the maids end up entering the room, they start to gasp seeing all of the flowers, which gets considered as mess, as if they can predict that something embarrassing might have happened the previous night. Then in the morning, when Teriella gets on with working as the Empress, Jerry couldn't stop smirking, and Teriella remarks that he could laugh as much as he wants, just like one of the maids, while adding that she left the window open and the petals somehow flew in. When their mockery finishes, Teriella ends up asking Jerry if he has a sister, and Jerry starts to talk about someone named Anna who must have applied to be an exclusive maid, while claiming that she looks nothing like him since it seems like viable information to relay to everyone. Then Teriella asks him if he wants her to get the position, and he claims that he doesn't, since the Empress's exclusive maid is an honor for young ladies, but if Anna becomes that person, something will cause an issue. But before he is about to finish the sentence, Teriella remarks that if that happens, it will make it a lot harder for him to make use of the Empress, which gets agreed to by Jerry himself, as his sister could be in danger as well. Then as they reach the end of the subject, Teriella claims that she will keep on respecting his intentions since he is great at what he does, and she will not be making Anna an exclusive maid of hers, but she leaves the task of selecting someone as an exclusive maid in Jerry's care since she is confused about choosing the perfect one for the task. Jerry claims that he would finish the task, but he will not be doing it based on power, but good people who will help her with daily life in the palace, which seems like a nice thing to say to Teriella. The moment he leaves the room, Anna comes up to Jerry asking if he had a conversation with Teriella for the maid position, as she is interested in the results in the end, as she had been practicing saying congratulations on her marriage already, while adding that she had also people talking about petals blooming on their bed in the morning, which starts to embarrass Teriella even more. Then on the other hand, Teriella's father is enraged about the Emperor calling him arrogant, as he remembers how he ordered that Teriella shouldn't ever be seeing him. Once again, as Teriella even made her kneel down and get them kicked. The son claims to him that he would rather be in their place instead of Leonhardt, since they do not need to fear Leonhardt, as they do not even have the world tree anymore. Teriella's father asks him if he is looking forward to breaking the continental peace agreement to start a war, which makes him claim that some kingdoms have already overheard the movement to reflect his compatibility in the world of politics. He claims that they can defeat the great empire of Leonhardt and cut off Teriella's neck as well, but at that moment, Karajan appears behind him demanding to know whose neck they are talking about. He appears in front of them saying that he has definitely warned them before leaving the palace, no matter how many children the king has. Teriella will be his only family, so they shouldn't dare to touch his sister, while demanding to know about his sister's whereabouts. When Lanefall looks more anxious than ever, Jerry ends up asking him what happened to him, and it seems that the Emperor is confused about the thing that Teriella has touched him, but he has no memory of it whatsoever. Then when Jerry pokes him about it, the Emperor claims that there is nothing more important than thinking about it, and Jerry decides to leave him to think about it, as he doesn't want to take part in it at all. Then he remembers what Teriella has talked to him about, as if he has lost his memory, was changed by the power of the saint, as her reaction in the morning was quite awkward compared to the other days, as he continues to wonder how bad he was that night. On the other hand, Teriella has redecorated the cage of Semula, thinking what else should she change so he doesn't end up leaving once again, as she is ready to give him anything to make him stop. Soon the Emperor reaches up to her, calling her name, and Teriella remarks that it isn't the midnight yet, and they get into an awkward conversation as they are married and can talk to each other anytime they want. The Emperor then suggests that she should call him by his name comfortably, as she already oboes his name, but Teriella remarks that there is no empress who had called her Emperor by his name. Then the Emperor claims that she can do that without worrying, while insisting that she shouldn't be throwing him away for some reason, which gets her flustered, as she wasn't expecting him to say something like that. Then anxious Emperor starts asking Teriella if she had done anything wrong the previous night, and flustered Teriella claims that he didn't, while wondering what must have caused him to talk about the previous night. As the Emperor continues to ask her about the yesterday's matter, confused Teriella ends up spouting that she didn't like the part they had to kiss, which ends crashing down on the Emperor as if something had gone so terribly in his life. Teriella continues to wonder to herself that it would have better for her to consulted him in advance to kiss him and everything else related to it, and berated Emperor states that they should have another kiss then if it surely didn't go well the previous time. Then, without even asking for her permission, the Emperor holds her close, which makes her wonder if he had continued to live his life without making a single mistake in his whole life, as she starts to contemplate her life. Then, when Teriella gets flustered about the whole thing, the Emperor suggests her that she can make him move away if she doesn't like the kiss this time, and the whole thing feels like a devil's temptation to Teriella. Knowing that she cannot be denying the offer, she leans in, and both of them have a passionate kiss together, which feels sweet to both of them, and as they continue to get deep into a passionate state, Teriella falls down on her knees in shock. When Teriella falls down on the ground, the Emperor gets her up asking if something had gone wrong, and it seems that she has lost the balance in her energy, as if he has passed some kind of divine energy in him while having the kiss, as his hair continued to become normal. After carrying Teriella to the bed, the Emperor states that he will be calling a doctor for her, and as he is about to go off, she claims that she was kissing, and suddenly she was out of her mind for some reason. Shocked Emperor ends up asking her if she was tempted by him, which gets her startled, while suggesting that she should be careful from now on, as she will never get to know when he is about to get on with seducing her once again. Then, when the Emperor continues to stare at Teriella after saying that she needs to see a doctor, she starts to wonder if anyone has ever taken care of her other than her mother and brother. She wonders why the Emperor must be so nice to her. While asking her for the reason for kissing her, and to it, the Emperor claims that he was tempted as well. Then he directly asks if she was tempted by him as well, but it seems that Teriella is having a hard time to understand herself. The Emperor then states that she doesn't have to answer it right now, if she is uncomfortable, as she can answer it any time she wants, as he will be waiting for her response. He suggests her to stop thinking about it, since that way she will be able to get some sleep, and shuts the door behind him. But the moment he closes the door, he ends up plopping down on the ground for not being able to believe that he has already grabbed onto Teriella's waist with his own two arms. He feels like he wants to live in those seconds all the time in his life, and suddenly Jerry comes up to him asking him why he would look so full of vengeance when he called out to him. The next day, the maid selected by Jerry, whose name is Phoebe, starts knocking on Teriella's door as they have to leave, and the Emperor was already waiting for her outside of the palace. Then, before leaving, Teriella looks at the cage of Semula, reminiscing that he told her that he would come back soon enough, but it is evident to her that he is nothing but a liar. It seems that Teriella is already looking into the book about Semula to know what he truly likes, as she hopes that it will move him enough to create another world tree so the world doesn't perish. She continues to wonder if the world tree can grow whenever he likes, and the Emperor starts asking Teriella if she is nervous about her official appearance. After confirming her nervousness, the Emperor states that Eliho wouldn't have much time to pay attention to her in the ceremony, as they need to stay in their seats, so there will be nothing to worry about. But even so, the Emperor claims that he will be with her till the end, and soon they end up arriving in front of the gate of the church, where Eliho and all the other priests were waiting for them. Annoyed, Teriella suddenly notices Semula above Eliho's head and feels like her whole dream is crashed on its own. Eliho claims that they have prepared a separate room for them to relax before the ceremony begins, so they can rest there, and he requests them to speak frankly while marking himself as a trusted subordinate. Teriella continues to wonder where Semula might have disappeared, and Eliho apologizes to Teriella for acting like that the other day, while claiming that he felt the power of God's Semula coming out of Teriella. He then even apologizes for acting like that while calling himself immature for the moment, as he claims that he had a lot of regrets when he came back to the temple that day. He then claims that he had been feeling the presence of Semula's divine power in many places, but he thinks that it might be his tiredness because of a long journey, while Teriella remarks inside her mind that is because the real Semula is truly around them right now. Teriella notices that the temple is quite simple, and when Eliho offers help to them, Teriella remembers that neither Rivanfel nor anyone ever spoke ill of Eliho, and the man himself even helped her when she was having trouble with the Marcus. Then Teriella ends up asking him about God Semula, and Livenfell starts to claim that it is forbidden to ask Eliho about God Semula, and while he continues to haggle Teriella for not talking about him, Eliho starts to blabber everything about Semula to Teriella, and his whole speech finishes 2 hours later, which still feels useless to Teriella in the end as none of them seem to help her. When Eliho remarks that people doesn't appreciate Semula and his believers as people, even threw rocks at them when they believe that they have brought destruction upon the land, and Livenfell remarks that they all needed someone to swear at. He also asks Eliho if he blames Semula for it, but he doesn't think that Semula cannot be blamed for it, which feels like a great belief to Livenfell after all. Soon one of the temple followers comes up to Eliho running, claiming that they have to go with him, and especially Eliho himself, and Livenfell suggests Jerry to start from the beginning as they are in need of an explanation. According to Jerry, the high priests who have gone on a recent expedition came back to the temple because of the plague, and, while Eliho ends up exclaiming that he can still heal them while they are in the early stages, Jerry elaborates that there are hundreds of people who gathered to attend the ceremony, and it might be possible that everyone, including the people there, has been exposed to the epidemic for sure. Teriella realizes that it is only a matter of time before the plague spreads everywhere, as there are no priests who can treat the large number of people in the temple, and Livenfell advises Eliho to close the temple gates, as only he has the power to close the temple gates. He also suggests Jerry to send a letter to a temple nearby to ask for their help, since they need to control the situation as soon as possible. Before Livenfell was about to speak about it any further, Eliho claims that from now on, he will be closing the temple hall, as he will also be treating the people at the same time. But Livenfell elaborates that he is the one who wastes energy while treating people, and Eliho thinks that if he doesn't treat urgent people first, they might not be able to control the situation, since they are all waiting for him in the hallway. Then at this moment, Teriella ends up asking them about the hamster that was on top of Eliho's head to everyone, which feels quite out of place to everyone, as they weren't able to guess that she would end up asking such an absurd question. Then Eliho claims that the hamster often lingers by his side, but he doesn't know where to find it, and Livenfell claims that she might be getting flustered since it is her first time having experience in the state affairs. Then Livenfell suggests Teriella to have courage, saying that she doesn't have to fear anything, as he will be coming back to her soon. He even ends up hugging her, and Teriella claims that she will surely let him know while blushing. Then as they are about to leave, Teriella claims that Jerry must have to find where the senior priests came into contact with the plague, as it seems absurd that they would be contacting the plague themselves as they were treating the others. Teriella makes Jerry understand that there are some lies hidden within the talk, and he must have to find it. Jerry respects the word coming out of Teriella's mouth, while Teriella thinks that she must find Semula himself to find the situation as its root. As she continues to look for him, he appears out of nowhere while filling his belly, and startled, Teriella starts asking where the hell had he been all this time, as she was looking for him everywhere. Then he remarks that he came to find her sometimes, and he even took some of the gemstones from the cage she decorated for him. As he continues to blabber about Phoebe, she starts asking him about what is happening inside the Empire at the moment, as they have been exposed to plague. While Semula continues to waste his time on seeds in his food, Teriella thinks that they must not waste any time, since the senior priests have come in touch with the plague and even carried it back to the great temple. Semula claims that she doesn't have to repeat the same thing over and over, since he is already aware of it while eating, and he makes it quite clear that it is out of his hands, as if his hands were not tied, he would have never allowed it to happen in the first place. While he continues to eat in peace, Teriella isn't ready to listen to him, as she thinks that if the plague can come running inside the holy temple, something even more dangerous might happen in the future, since it may even include the fall of the temple as the others. When Semula gets to the point, he starts to shriek, saying that it must not happen inside his great temple, as he still remembers the day it was built, and the moment he realizes the urgency, he clenches his fist, only to claims that if he forces himself beyond his current limits, it would mean that he will not be able to descend again for years to come. Semula claims that she must be helping him by acting as the vessel of his power, and he then instantly hops on her head, claiming that the temple awaits its savior, while she doesn't recall that she ever wanted to help. Then when Teriella starts to haggle, saying that she doesn't know how to use the power properly, Semula starts shouting, wondering what she must have been doing with the power that he has entrusted to her, and while she doubts that she will be contacting the plague as well, Semilla suggests her to believe in her divine power after all. When Teriella continues to act persistent, Semilla decides that he will help her to learn about how to use the divine power properly, and he suggests that she shouldn't be fooling herself for even once into believing that Alejo alone can bring the matter to rest. Even that Alejo himself might perish in the end if that continues to hold up, and Semilla claims that her intervention might help as there will be billions of possibilities to create. But at that time, Teriella thinks that she would be exposing herself as the Divine Maiden, which will cause the long-awaited return, would throw the continent into tumult as people will want his blood soon enough for power. But she also knows that Rivanfel's death will bring an end to her reign as an empress as well, and after noticing the anxiousness, Semilla claims that he will even lend her his hidden secret relic as he now has nothing more to offer to her. She starts to dash in full speed, knowing that she must have acted up with the matter related to the relic, and the moment she goes onto the balcony of the hallway, she notices that people are running everywhere to call Alejo as they are suffering from the plague, while the others are ordering others to finish them off since they can infect the others. Semilla claims that the sight looks quite hellish, and Teriella had no idea that the plague would spread this quickly. She notices that Alejo is trying to help people as much as possible while looking like he is in the worst situation possible, as if he is about to face his own demise. While everyone is running in pain and agony, Teriella's chest starts to pound heavily, and Semilla claims that the divine power among her is drawing her to the call of the emotions that she had left neglected and buried up until now, suggesting that she must unleash her might. Teriella thinks that it must be quite more than just a simple healing spell, as it is certainly more grandiose than what she expected. As the flashing continued, Teriella ran back to the waiting room to avoid being exposed, and she thinks that she must be thankful that the crowd must have mistaken it for Alejo's doing in the end. Suddenly, when the Emperor comes back to call her, she hurriedly goes on to check up on him to see to his condition, but instead of listening to her, he starts to ask if it was her doing or not, while she continues to avoid eye contact with him. Rivanfel then starts to press on her, saying that it was surely out of Alejo's capabilities, as he also saw her sneaking out of the waiting room a while ago, and she ends up admitting to it in the end, even though he suggested her to stay out of the matter at least, since there is her life risk for sure. When she decides not to get swayed by his words, he remarks that she must be forgetting the oath that they have made, since he would rather not have used her divine power in the presence of anyone other than himself. Semilla thinks of putting Rivanfel to sleep once again, and when he continues to act self-centered, Teriella claims that she can't act like him, since the fall of the Empire would have been catastrophic for her power and influence. At that moment, Alejo knocks on the door, and the moment he comes in, he starts asking Teriella if she was the one who showcased the divine power, which starts to make them feel like it must be the most untimely thing possible. When Rivanfel continues to act like he doesn't know about such a thing, Alejo presses onto the situation even more, saying that he can feel his urgency, which is why he made everyone believe that he was the one who showcased the divine power instead of Teriella. Now Teriella feels like Alejo laid the matter to rest on purpose, as if he knew all along, and Alejo claims that he doesn't think that there must be secrecy about Teriella's divine power, and Rivanfel claims that he must believe that the Divine Maiden might be powerful, but they do not know about the capacity of her power, so he shouldn't have the blind faith thinking that she is his true savior. When the situation deepens between Rivanfel and Alejo, Alejo decides to keep his head down for them, and Semilla knew that Alejo is a devout believer who would happily give his own life for the Divine Maiden, while claiming that the Divine Maiden should keep herself free by determining her own path. While Semilla fills himself with more food and delicacies, Alejo claims that he will be their steadfast ally in this pact of secrecy, which gets appreciated by Rivanfel for sure. On the other hand, Teriella thinks that she can rest easily now that there will be Alejo to help them out, and while Rivanfel and Alejo think about something else, Teriella demands the artifact from Semilla while carrying him in her hand, as a few days later it gets served to her in the end. On the other hand, Jerry claims to Teriella that the senior priests who were affected by the plague had drunk contaminated drinks with soiled blood from the victims of the Ferdiac experiment, which feels like a shocking discovery to Teriella, as the matters are connected to Generva, the fell alchemist behind the Ferdiac experiment. As the next day, Teriella continues to think on her own, she wonders what Semilla thinks of the misuse of the world tree that he granted, while Jerry continues to feed her more information about the whole incident. While Teriella is feeling suspicious that someone might have linked the information about the ceremony, Jerry thinks that it might not be possible, but it is reflecting that the problem ended up striking at the weirdest time possible. When Jerry thinks of the normal timing as possible, Teriella thinks that releasing the plague in the middle of the crowd would lead to its swift discovery to make an immediate closure of the temple, and the target of spreading the plague would originally fail. When Teriella continues to give him hints that their goals might have been different, Jerry gets serious in an instant, which makes him wonder if Teriella must be better as an aide than being the Empress. As everyone leaves, Teriella starts questioning Semula about his intentions of the world ending, and she also remarks that the world is in shambles as it is on the brink of collapse. As they speak, he claims that the scenery that she had seen that day is her burden to remember, and she starts to wonder if it is really her path to walk onto, as the plague might have been cured all at once, but the continent is beset upon all sides by disasters of nature, as she cannot resolve them all for once. Then, when Semula realizes that she might be feeling conflicted, he suggests that she should follow him, as they are about to reach the root of the problem at this moment. The moment the Emperor gets ready for his daily treatment, he and Teriella starts to talk about Jerry claiming how impressive Teriella would be as an advisor, which makes Teriella remark that she has never thought of himself as someone jealous. The moment Teriella goes on to work on his treatment, Rivanfel halts her, saying that he is curious as to how long she can plan to avoid speaking out his name for real. As his hair turns white, he claims that he doesn't count herself as a stranger in the matter, as she is his first and last wife who has earned the right. Then suddenly, in the middle of the conversation, Rivanfel ends up asking if she would let him kiss her, and the moment he starts to get close to her after a lot of talk, Jerry ends up bursting into the room, claiming that their border has already been breached. The moment Jerry gets shocked, Teriella realizes that Jerry must not see no matter what, and she works on her divine power to make him turn normal once again. While holding Teriella close to himself, speaking of the urgency, saying that he had to enter the Empress's bedchamber unannounced, and Jerry announces that the situation does command greater urgency this time, as the man has infiltrated their border through all defenses. When Rivanfel asks for the name, as the man single-handedly took on an empire, all alone wishing for something, Jerry clears that the main aim is to gladly undertake a war unless Teriella is brought to him at once, while remarking his name as Rufeon, as he is there to take Teriella away with him. Thanks for watching the second part of My Husband Changes Every Night. This will be all for today, and if you want to support the channel, just click on the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Let us know in the comments if you want to see the next part of the manhwa. See you again next time.